Oh, that's a good one. Who would I like to work with? I'd like to work with, well, first, I think the Japanese animation companies are great. You know, from what I see, they're very, very beautiful. I'd like to work with great writers. I'd like to put together a bunch of great writers, go to work with some people who really know how to write and think. I'll have them at the tips of my hand now, but young writers are very. I would like to work with writers, I think, and make sure ideas are perfect. Um, uh, in animation, you're always working by yourself. There are great animators I'd like to work with, but that's on the craft side. That's a good question. I haven't thought of it really. To me, writing we got to find something that's worth making a movie about. And at my age, I may be missing a lot of things. So I was young when I made those movies, and they were very close to me. I don't know what I'm close to anymore. Things change when you're old. My parents were immigrants to America in 1938. They were running away from the Nazis. I grew up in Brooklyn, very poor, and people worked very hard. Um, the war was on, World War II was on, and my entire family in Russia was getting killed by Germans. Uh, this doesn't allow for many Disney films in my life. And basically, we didn't show Disney films in my neighborhood. When I went to the movies, we weren't Disney because Disney didn't send its movies to where I lived. We were too poor. So the way we grew up, the way we had to earn our living, the way we worked, what happened to our families, affected the way I think. In other words, I didn't grow up in a small town in America where the leaves were falling down and we had Christmas every year. It was a different kind of life. Um, People would argue politics every street corner in my neighborhood, and it was a very, very rich place. Don't get me wrong; it was very beautiful. People selling, stairs in the street, trying to become Americans. It was a very vibrant, wonderful place. I wouldn't give it up for anything. Um, but it was very realistic. You didn't have time for much fantasy. And I think it got me on the road. That got me angry. I saw the tremendous injustice to people was quite obvious to me. I just checked with my family. My mother would a week that somebody else died. This is a lot of pain, to go through week after week, year after year. I had uncles and cousins killed in Normandy. Um, it was a different America I grew up in than what these kids grew up after me. And that's why they're so greedy. And that's why they need $100 shoes to walk in the street. Uh, I knew the country was lost. We used to spend $1 for a pair of sneakers. This is the poorest shoe a boy could buy for $1. And that's what we spent. Those same sneakers in 1980 were $150. So, and kids were robbing other kids in schoolyards to get their sneakers. I mean, that's a big change in the country. What I'm saying is, I grew up in a time that was different, so it certainly affected my animation. Um, Walt Disney, spent the entire war years making his magical fantasy films. To him, there was no war going on. There was no Auschwitz. There was no Buchenwald. The Americans weren't dying. You know, 30, 40, 50 million Russians, fighting war. Nothing to Disney. He's going to make Bambi and he's going to make Pinocchio and he's going to make Japan. The world is falling apart. That's a different mentality, but that's the mentality that's taken over America. let's merchandise everything and worry about um, people later, So, um, yeah, so me growing up a certain way, if I had grown up rich in the Middle West in a nice house with maids, I might have made a Disney film. I don't know. Listen, nobody read me Peter Pan at night. And nobody read me anything. Everybody was too tired. They had to go to work in the morning. You see, so my mother worked in the garden center. My father worked. No, there was no time for those niceties. Though we loved each other. Let me be very clear. I have great parents. I don't want to for a moment think there's anything wrong, but there was no time for that sort of thing. It was sort of everyone got to take care of himself. At Terryton's, I got a job after high school. I couldn't go to college because we needed money in the family. So I took a job at Terryton's, an animation company, uh, at the lowest rung as an office boy, and learned animation. I went to school to become a cartoonist. My high school was school, so I really made the decision I wanted to be a cartoonist. I learned animation with. I was lucky enough to get a job at Terryton. I think Argentina is beautiful. If you could get a festival and get me down there, I would come. Germany wanted to do a festival of all my films and everything. I turned them down. I can't see myself flying to Germany somehow still. That's my fault. But I'd love to come to Argentina. A lot of sun and good food. Good food. They have great cowboys there. I used to read about them. Adios. I'll speak to you again. You're very nice people. Goodbye.